Thanks for joining us today for the What's Included with Your IFSA Program webinar. Before we begin, I just have a few housekeeping notes I wanted to share. We are recording this webinar and it will be made available later this week for anyone who can't stay on the line for this entire webinar presentation. To ensure sound quality for the recording, all participants' microphones have been muted, and we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. So if you encounter questions as we're going through the slides here, you can use the Q&A box in the toolbar to type in your questions, and we will do our very best to get to all of those at the very end of the presentation. Let's get started. I'm Emma Robinson, and I'm the Student Engagement Specialist here at IFSA.
And I'm Jennifer McKibben, the Assistant Director of Student Engagement.
Today we're going to talk about all of the things that are included with your IFSA program fees. You'll see a listing there of the topics we're going to cover, everything from excursions to health and safety, and like I mentioned, at the end we'll have time for your questions. So one of the first things I wanted to go over today are the excursions that are included with your IFSA program fees. These include a lot of activities throughout your time abroad, no matter the duration of your program. We always try to pack in some additional activities for students so they can really get a great sense of the culture that they're becoming a part of by going abroad. So these include things like day trips, which vary per program and semester from year to year based upon availability. Our staff abroad really tries to plan things that take advantage of local exhibits and local happenings. So those can change pretty frequently, but they are included. Like I said before, these types of events really add that deeper cultural context to your time abroad. So they're a great thing to take advantage of that are included and planned for you. You can see some examples here. We have students sharing a meal on one of our China programs, and students taking part in a Sydney Harbor cruise in Sydney, Australia, and then some students visiting Mayan ruins in Mexico. So these are just quick examples of some things that you can expect around the world as to what we include with our programs. These come at no additional fee with your program with IFSA, so it's not something that you need to sign up for. These are all automatically included. Also, once you've begun your application, you'll have access to the IFSA student portal where you can see a schedule of these types of included activities once they're finalized by our resident staff. So even then, you'll be able to get a great idea of what your time abroad will entail in terms of excursions. Another item that IFSA takes care of for you, and that's included in your program fees, is a guaranteed placement in housing abroad. So the IFSA team will collect your housing preferences during your application process, and then will apply for a place in housing on your behalf. There's no need to find your own lodging for your time abroad, which takes a lot of the stress and guesswork out of going to a very new place. So the housing type will vary based upon the program you're applying to. It can range from apartment living to residential college or dorms to a homestay, as you can see here, some examples on your screen. Housing is typically finalized about 2 to 4 weeks prior to your departure, when your program advisor will share the details of your housing placement with you. And then also during orientation, lodging is included and provided for you as well. Another thing that's included with your IFSA program are some extensive academic services, and this is something that we really pride ourselves on at IFSA, that we provide for you before, during, and after your time abroad. So before you go abroad, we provide some services with finding classes that will work with your degree plan, and Jennifer will go into more detail about some of those tools and services that we provide in the next slide. And then during your time abroad, IFSA provides a full course load of credits for your program. So that will depend upon the length of your program. But for example, the typical semester program will include 15 or 16 U.S. semester credit hours that you'll be able to bring back to your home university. And then for shorter term programs, that will obviously be less. Another thing that you can expect during your time abroad are some academic services to help you stay on track. So in Latin America, we include tutoring services for all of our programs there. And then for students attending a host institution, you'll have access to your host university services like libraries, tutors, and study groups, things that you might expect to receive on campus that you might receive now at your home university. And then after your time abroad, IFSA does include a copy of Butler University transcript that will be sent to your home institution. That will make the credit transfer a little bit easier of a process for you. We'll take all of your grades that you earn from your time abroad, translate them into U.S. semester credit hours and letter grades, and then produce that transcript for you that will be sent to your home institution. So next, like I said, Jennifer is going to get a little bit into some of those academic services and tools that you can use before you go abroad.
That brings us over to CHART, which is our academic resource tool. So this academic database of classes shows what students have taken or expressed interest in taking over the past 3 years. There are over 14,000 courses available to view, many of which have detailed information from their syllabi. And if you have specific classes that you need to take in order to stay on track to graduate, our academics team can do a course equivalency search for you. You would just log into CHART and fill out the equivalency request form, and they would do a detailed search of specific programs or locations that interest you to find potential matches for those courses. Not only will you have this awesome academic tool, but you'll also have a dedicated program advisor working with you throughout the entire application process until you arrive on site and then are introduced to our on-site teams. Your advisor will be your main point of contact for any and all application and program questions along the way. They'll provide pre-arrival support, which includes instructions for course enrollment, flight booking details, visa instructions, among other topics. They've also worked to create a series of inclusive student resources about varying topics, one of which is pictured here. You will be able to find all of these resources in your IFSA student portal under the resources section where you can download and view all of the details. For more information about the application process and how it works, refer to the On24 resource section for a previous webinar about this topic. Your IFSA support will continue into your on-site experience. We have dedicated staff members in all of our host countries, many of which have worked with IFSA for years and are natives to those countries, and they love welcoming a new group of students each semester. These on-site team members are dedicated to IFSA students and will be there to greet you at the airport if you arrive during our designated arrival windows. They'll lead you through the program orientation so you can get acquainted with the location and all the logistics of living in a new city. And you'll also have a detailed orientation at your host university. Our on-site staff will provide check-ins throughout the semester to see how things are going and how they can offer support to help you with your abroad experience. They're also going to be your 24/7 emergency contact, and they're to support you during your experience for whatever you would need while you're abroad. IFSA is proud of the health and safety support that we're able to provide all of our students. All IFSA students will be enrolled in our medical insurance plan. The cost of this is actually already included in your program fee, so it's no additional cost to you. Our comprehensive plan covers doctors, visits, mental health services, and so much more. You can see the full plan details on our website or simply by asking your program advisor. In addition to insurance, we also offer 24-hour health and safety services abroad for our students, as well as emergency assistance and support from our on-site team. Our health and safety team is based both in Indianapolis and around the world, and they are continually monitoring current events. They'll keep you updated with any health and safety news both before your arrival and then once you're actually there as things continue to evolve. If you'd like to learn more, there's an entire health and safety webinar within this series, so check out the On24 resource tab for more. And now we're going to continue on to the Q&A part of our presentation.
Okay, everyone, we'll take some questions now. And we've got with us a couple of IFSA Global Ambassadors who are alumni from a couple of our programs. First up, we'll hear from Asan Hawkins, who went on our University of Edinburgh program. And she's got a couple of questions that came up for her that she'd like to talk through today. Thanks for joining us, Asan.
Hello, everybody. Today I would like to go over a few of the questions, as Jennifer had stated, that I had while I was studying abroad. The first one centers around housing, and the question that I had posed was, can students connect with past students if they are confused about how to choose the most appropriate housing? And the answer to that is, if confused, the IFSA staff can connect you to a student ambassador like me who also went to your university, and they can assist you in choosing with housing. Specifically at the University of Edinburgh, I remember there being around 35 to 40 options. So I definitely kind of was lost in what to choose. Now, IFSA does a great job of compiling together a list of qualities that each of those properties had to help me better choose, but I still wanted student input. And then after I had gotten back, the IFSA staff had contacted me with another student who also had trouble, and I was able to assist them, having already been on site. In addition to helping with housing, IFSA's student ambassadors can also help with any other related questions that you guys have about the program specific to your university, as well as what it's like when we get in country. The second question I'm going to go over is about kind of your family. So while studying abroad, if your families have a question, do they contact the on-site staff since we are also on staff? The answer to this is that families do not contact the IFSA on-site staff. So that staff is specifically for students once they get into country. They would contact the IFSA-Butler staff in the United States, specifically, your program director that you were working with before you came over to the country. But for students, once you get to the country during your orientation, the IFSA staff on site will give you guys specifically an emergency card, which will have all the numbers that you would contact in case of an emergency and the types of emergency, which is also really good.
Thanks,
and that's all I have.
Thank you. I appreciate you expanding upon that and kind of more about what you can do as a global ambassador to help students before they go, and then kind of what it's like on site in case something comes up that's an emergency. So if any of you have other questions you'd like to pop into the question box there, please feel free to do so. In the meantime, there are a couple questions that our ambassador, Erin Lynn, would like to go over, and she studied at the University of Glasgow with IFSA before. So thanks for joining us as well, Erin. So whenever you're ready, I think you had a couple questions you wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So like you mentioned, I'm Erin, and I studied at the University of Glasgow in Scotland, fall of 2019. And so today I have two questions that I can discuss with you guys about. So the first one is regarding events besides the excursion and the orientation that IFSA can provide. So are there any events besides those that are provided during the academic year? And the short answer to that question is yes. So for my specific program, I remember I had a mural tour of the city of Glasgow, and I also had a Friendsgiving meal. So, and of course, there are sporadic check-ins dispersed throughout the academic semester that you can meet with your IFSA team members if you feel the need to. But that being said, remember that these excursions and events will always vary depending on the program you choose and the location of the program and the term of your program. So you won't always get, like the same events. Expect a variety depending on your program. And furthermore, and unfortunately, due to the global pandemic, these events can further differ due to these coronavirus restrictions for the future semesters. So just keep those in mind. Now, the second question I have for you guys is, will IFSA provide assistance for students with disabilities, and especially during excursions? Because a lot of these excursions tend to need a lot of physical walking and physical activity. So in my experience, I went abroad with a knee injury, so I needed to get in touch with my host university's disability services. And IFSA was able to really nicely set up that process for me. So they were able to get in touch over the summer before my term began with the university. And IFSA was able to find out, what sorts of accommodations they could have for me. And they got me the, relevant paperwork for me to fill out because I needed a mobility scooter. So they were able to get all of those materials for me. And they also got me in touch with the people in charge of disability services at my host university. And so I was able to, have that very nicely set up for me just through IFSA and not through, me contacting the university directly. And as for excursions, if you have some sort of injury or disability, you can always have the option to, you can always choose to not attend. Or if you do think you're able to attend, but you need a little extra accommodation, you can always have the option to rest or stay on the bus when you need to. You don't have to go to every single event along those excursions because they are typically 2-day excursions, which involve a lot of activities. And so yeah, and along with that, IFSA, regardless of where you're at during an excursion during your academic year, they will always check up on you. Like mine did for me when you have some sort of injury on how you're doing. And so, yeah, those are some of the questions that I had during my experience, and hopefully my answers can sort of help you guys have a better picture of what to expect.
Yes, thank you so much, Erin. That is two great things to think about when you're preparing to go, and then again, once you're on site, some excursions to look forward to. So thank you so much. I don't see that we've got any other questions that have come in. However, if you come across any questions after you watch this presentation, you can always reach out to your IFSA program advisor or contact us via our website, and we'd always be happy to help with any questions you have about preparing for your time abroad, finding a program that's right for you, or anything else that you come across. So we really appreciate you joining us today, and thank you to our global ambassadors, Erin and Asan, who joined us too. We really appreciate your input and sharing your experience that you had with IFSA. So with that, we'll end our presentation. Thank you again, everyone.